Recording again. So before Nether Spice, we will most likely do this shit. This guy buffs himself with a stackable buff that increases his damage by a lot. And we have a mage spell steal, like 10 stacks of it, so that we go into Nether Spite, and the mage does as much damage as 20 people. And that trivializes the first phase very, very much. I'm just gonna close my window. And yeah, we will do that. And you need to like be ready to go into the fight because the buff on the mage doesn't last for a long, long time. So we almost immediately pull. So we'll go into Netherspite. Netherspite is this dragon in the room. We pull him. He has an aggro table, even though the aggro table only matters for the first few seconds of the fight and after every transition. I mean, after every couple, I mean, because like he has one phase, another phase, then the first, then the second, then the first, then the second, etc. infinitely. So another fight, this dragon, we pull him and we misdirect him onto the first tank and then position him in the room according to what we want to do with his main ability, which is the portals. He has 3 portals that will spawn at the same time as he uses a buff that is called Empowerment onto him, and that increases his damage by a lot. And that requires it so that we use the portals. So there's going to be one red portal, one green portal, and one blue portal that spawn. All 3 will fire a beam towards him, and the first unit that gets hit gets a buff from a buff and or a debuff from the beam. The thing is, when you take the beam, you can stay in the beam or leave the beam for a bit. But if you leave the beam for too long, you cannot get the beam again. Kind of like Mixeridon. Once you have this mark debuff thingy, you cannot do the mechanic again. So either someone else takes your place, or you are good enough to keep doing it. So basically, the red beam, if it goes onto Netherspite, it's a buff to his tankiness. And if it goes onto one of us, the boss fixates on that guy, and that person is the tank. No matter what happens with the threat table or aggro or like anything about threat, he fixates whoever is in the red beam. So that means you can never be in the red beam unless you intend to do it, because you will die. That's how YMB died. He got one shot by Netherspite because he got into the red beam. He was a shield wearing paladin and got one shot. Just one hit. Same for Athena on bear, as a bear. So like, yeah, that's bad. The green beam will heal the boss a lot if it stays onto him, and if you are in the red beam, in the green beam, your mana pool will be like, basically you have like 50k mana, max mana, and your mana is replenished every second or every 2 seconds, but every stack you get reduces your mana pool. So basically, like, you start the fight with like your normal mana pool, I don't know, like 10k. If you go into the green beam, you'll have like 50k, and then 48, 46, 44, 42, 40, 38, 30x, etc. And if you stay in the green beam, at some point you have like 0 max mana, and you cannot use any spell. So what we do is we have someone with no mana tank the green beam and stop the green beam from healing the boss. The red beam, by the way, is not just a fixate. It's also the same thing with HP. So the boss will be fixating on you, but also, instead of having your normal like 15k HP, you will have 50k. But every stack you take inside this red beam is going to reduce your HP until it reaches 0. And that's how Bubble died. He did not move in and out of the red beam enough, so he did not notice he had 4k HP max and got one shot. So the tank of the red beam needs to dance in and out to not take too many stacks. He gives some stacks to Netherspite, some stacks to himself, without letting the debuff fall, because if the debuff falls, he cannot do the mechanic again for a full minute. So does that make sense? Yeah. Now for the blue beam is the DPS beam. If the blue beam hits Netherspite deals a lot of damage, but whoever is in the blue beam also deals a lot of damage to Netherspite, but also takes a lot of damage from any source, and increasing with each stack. So what we will have is 2 DPS per phase will alternate tanking the blue beam, because over like 25 stacks or something, you are in great danger of death. Every few seconds, Netherspite pulses AoE shadow damage around everyone in the entire raid. Even if you're at the entrance, you take damage and you die, by the way. And because of the stacks from the blue beam, you will get one shot at some point from these spells. And also he spawns void zones under your feet, but the void zones are not like KT. They don't one-shot you, they just deal damage like every second. But if you have the blue debuff, you definitely die. And he also does a breath. Sometimes he does not like to use it in phase 1, 3, 5, and 7, etc. He uses only that in phase 2 and 4 and 6 though. So the blue beam, the first half of the first phase is tanked by one caster, the mage, because of the buff. And also you can do as much damage as you want because he will be fixating on whoever's in the red beam. And then when the first blue beam tanker has too many stacks, he leaves the blue beam, and the second guy will be there to soak the second half of the blue beam for that phase. The red beam always has one guy every phase, and the green one always has one as well, almost always. And then we transition into phase 2. The portals disappear, and so actually, let me show you. So we pull with a misdirect onto Fibble. Now the portals have spawned. During phase 1, it's always the same position. Red is here, blue is here, green is here. We always have a big healer next to the blue, because the blue beam takes a lot of damage, and the other healers needs to be 3, by the way. They will like be standing like over there. It's good to notice that after phase 1, the green beam becomes invisible, and they can change positions. So you need to know where you need to stand depending on where you see the red and the blue, because the green will not be showing, and you can never really know where they are, basically. So it's like you need to be careful, especially because you can never be in the red beam, okay? Never. So yeah. Now, they will start firing the beams soon, and he casts Empowerment. And there you go. So you see the mage right here is doing his stuff, and the tank is dancing in and out. It's kind of like 5 stacks, 5 stacks, 5 stacks, 5 stacks, in, out, in, out. Lewin has 17 stacks, so he will start taking a lot of damage from the AoE pulses, and at some point he will almost die and get one shot because too many stacks. And that's what happened. See, Lewin almost died from the stacks. And now that people have done that, so the portal phase ends in 10, around 10, and because the portals will stop firing the beams, the buffs will fall out from them, and so they will have the debuff that makes it so they cannot absorb the same beam for like a full minute or more, depending on like which beam. So that means for the next phase, it needs to be another set of people doing the same thing. So the second tank will tank the red beam, another pair of DPS will tank the blue beam, and someone else has to take the green one. Okay. And yeah. There could be shenanigans with the green one, but I won't go over it right now because it could be confusing. Now there's so the banish phase. He roots himself, but he can still melee, and he can melee much farther than it looks like. He can and has one-shot people from this, yeah. But we can still fight him. The thing is, he loves to, and he basically spams his breath ability that does a knockback onto everyone in a cone, like around the person that he was targeting. So there's two ways to manage this phase. What we do right here is the outranging strat, where we put him like way over there. We go behind the telescope, and we are all like out of range. So he tries to cast his breath but cannot. And sometimes he's close to here, so we like go to the other side, but it's the same idea. Something else we can do is like keep attacking him, but you want to make sure you're never in melee range of him. It's like super much bigger than this red circle. Really, really much longer. Now the portals have appeared again. And so we have a misdirect again, because that's when you need to be really careful of your, as I said, of your threat. And people are like tanking the beams again, and it's the same thing. So these are the void zones, by the way. If you're in the blue beam, they can definitely like insta kill you in like 2 ticks if you have too many stacks. So like be always careful of that. It's a really mana intensive fight. It can be very long, especially if people die during it. Which, by the way, Alt F4, if you Pt3 Alt F4, you will die. It doesn't work on these servers. So, yep, that's another spite. And then if we have another banish phase, we can DPS him in banish phase, by the way. He just non-stops will use the cone, and so we need to like spread in a circle so that we don't all get hit. But here he was really low HP, so we decided to stay for this banish phase instead of running out. But sometimes he's like not anywhere close to dying, so we do it again, and then for this time the phase 1 people would have lost their debuffs by then, so we resume with the very first team. All right, so same tank as phase 1, same green beam as phase 1, and same blue beam pair as phase 1. So that's Nether Spite. It's you have a lot of things to keep in mind. It's kind of scary, all that. Now, Flesh Beast and Greater Flesh Beast, the only thing you need to know about them is they deal a giga high damage, and you don't want to be in front of them. Biggest heals on tanks, etc., etc. And we won't kill all of them, and there's patrols, and this happens like once in a blue moon, but we will pull one from this door. I've seen it 3 times only. This is the 3rd time. But it can happen. And there's another one that's patrolling at this door as well. But we just want to reach the top. Now the last Greater Flesh Beast, and we get ready for Prince Malchezaar. So Prince Malchezaar, there's a ton of stuff. But he has 3 phases, and each transition into another phase needs to be done with a very precise timing, and it's not the same for phase 2 and for phase 3. And it depends on his very known, sadly, known spell, Enfeeble. So let's start with this one. During phase 1 and phase 2, he has Enfeeble. Every so often, he will select targets at random, targets that cannot be the top absolute threat, which means the one who has the highest threat cannot be enfeebled. But if someone has more threat than the tank, but is not tanking, because as you know, If you're melee, you need 110%, and as a range, you need 130% of the tank's threat to rip aggro. So if you are not ripping aggro, but you're above the tank in absolute threat, you will make the tank eligible for enfeeble, and the tank will be one-shot, and people will die. There will be a Pt3 out. So you can never, ever, ever afford to be more like over the tank threat, top threat. So enfeeble will select like what, 4 people or 5 people at random except for that, and they will be reduced to 1 HP. That cannot be healed for like what, like 8 seconds or something like that. Every time he uses enfeeble, 2 seconds later he will use Shadow Nova, and Shadow Nova has a 2-second cast as well. So you have like 4 seconds to like run out if you are melee. And so Shadow Nova deals damage and knocks back people. It's bigger than 25 yards. It's smaller than 30. But rule of thumb is you want to be more than 30 yards. And so if you take any type of damage on Enfeeble, you die. So you don't want a Dark Rune. You don't want to use Seal of Blood. You don't want to stay in melee if you're melee. And yeah, there could be infernal damage killing you. There could be the Shadow Nova damage killing you. Yeah. So melees, we start in this position like this, so that we are always at about 35 to 40 if you are hugging the door, yards away from the tank, so away from Malkezar as well. So that's like the right range. And right here, you can't see it, but there's like a little corner where the melees can run out when Enfeeble goes out so that they don't get killed by Shadow Nova by line of sighting it. Otherwise, they can also like run here. There will be Infernals spawning all around the room in like fixed spots, but the spots are chosen at random. We say it's a good Infernal when it's like in this part of the room, like on the left that we don't even see, and it's a bad Infernal when it's close to us. The pretty recurrent, like common Infernal that's annoying is the one that would like be right in front of us. And this one would like not prevent us from healing the tank, but would prevent most classes from hitting Malkezar. If that happens, we want to run out and play the mechanic inside the entire room as the fight was intended. Like this door strat is kind of a cheese. But he can spawn an Infernal here. There's also apparently a spot for an Infernal that is very, very rare, that I've never seen myself, on the door that will oblige us to run. The one in front of us won't hit us, but like you cannot attack in some classes. There's also Infernals next to the melees on the other side, so like that's bad. If we have 2 bad Infernals that close the way out, we Pt3 out and we reset. If we have only 1 in the right order, then we just run out, but only when Enfeeble is not about to go out, because obviously then you get one shot. We've had so many people get one shot by Enfeeble plus Infernals. It's bad. Like, we've lost so many people to this. And also he uses a Shadow Word Pain on the tank, so it's just dispelled. Paladins have a 40 yards dispel, Priest 30, so Priest shouldn't go close in danger range to dispel, just let the Paladins do it. And that's all for phase 1. Then for phase 2, at 60% HP, I mean, upon reaching 59.9%, he will briefly untarget the tank and equip his second weapon, and he will increase his damage by a lot. This phase needs to be the shortest as possible. And so that's why everyone needs to be using, keeping their big CDs for this. So we lost at 60%, and it lasts until 30%. That's when you want to be using your big cooldowns, big everything. Also, he does a lot of damage, so that's when you use all of your big healing cooldowns as well. and everything keeps happening as usual, but we need to burn him. The thing is, because he untargets the tank for a brief second when he transitions from phase 1 to phase 2, if he does that and casts Enfeeble at the same time, he can Enfeeble the tank. And so that means the tank dies because the tank is at 1 HP and Pt3 out and people die. That's how we've had 2 wipes, 3, including last week's wipe from EU. So yeah. And so that's why we will call for a stop damage that you really need to be listening to. Okay, so we don't have much time. So for phase 3, it's almost the same thing, except for phase 3, he will stop enfeebling, but he will have, so his weapon will start being sentient and like fly and attack people at seemingly random. And that's why we cannot transition him into phase 3, when Enfeeble is out. For phase 1 into 2, we don't want to do it when Enfeeble is about to go out, but once it's out, we can. But for phase 3, we want to wait until Enfeeble has fallen off, because otherwise the weapons will one-shot people at 1 HP. And during this, he will also put debuffs on people to make them take more damage from any source, and also there's going to be a secondary target being Shadow Word Pained, but we just dispel that. And when we reach phase 3, it's much easier than phase 2 and 1. So basically the fight is over by phase 3. And that's it. The only thing you really, really need to keep in mind for this encounter is you never can pass top threat, and you like during Enfeeble, you step back, you wait at the door if you have to. If you have to do nothing, you do nothing. Never use Dark Runes or anything that can kill you and removes HP from you. During the first few times you do Malchezaar, I do use Dark Runes now, but I've killed Malchezaar like 30 times. Just don't. People that are really, really good, extremely high skill, like when Bob, you just at some point your you think you can, you kill yourself. That's how it happened to so many people. We've lost so many people to this mechanic. It's like bad. So it's okay if you're or anything, just say it, but don't kill yourself. Malchezaar is the one that has the biggest chance to kill you. So that's all. Let's. If you have any questions, say it now, but we need to log in.